Hey everyone, so here we are back again with our defense versus ENKI and the Ultimatum. Really quick, because this part of pretty much until we kill the HA goes as planned. I want to talk about ideas that I had initially talked about in the other video that I'm going to introduce, the little clip. And about essentially, we could call it like Nocturnals 2.0 because I feel this is like the first major defense that we lost, but that we learned a lot from. I mean, we learn and we grow every time, but maybe like a transition. And that's about at least the ideas that I have of fluidity, 1, 2 pressure, and then 3 speed, which responsiveness. So the fluidity essentially ties into each battle group, so Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, and their roles, and then the individual players' roles. So for here, for example, the priority or the role of Alpha was to get to the HA. So that's our main priority. So every player in Alpha knows Sushi Stone, get to the HA. Bravo and Charlie, PvP Stone, skirmish. If there's nobody there, get to the HA. So essentially each player within each group, based on their role, goes through these priorities constantly. Because each of our players, we need to be doing the most meaningful and impactful thing at all times, because we simply don't have the CC of, say, Obsidian or ENKI to have 5 players carry the weight of like 10 or 15. We just don't. The first major thing that I see here, and that you guys can see, is the barricade, the timing. I think we underestimated, and we've talked about this, how fast that HA would go down. So essentially, the timing on this barricade, I feel it might be better just to like destroy it earlier and have us come back and die to it, versus us having to run back, because we lose a lot of time here. You can see that our artifact is down to like 60 something percent by the time we get back to it and defend. So we've essentially lost 37% of an artifact, and that's a lot of time. It's a lot of pressure they put on us, and now we have to like be very quick and react to them. And so essentially 2 is pressure, and I'm going to let this run a little bit more and then introduce the other clip on the ideas that I have to introduce more pressure on defense, specifically with Alpha grouping at 4. One of the things that I've noticed that really stuck out to me was how much ENKI had grown since their last fight, because obviously they have people spawning here at this 4 spawn for them, because they need to have people spawning here, because if we don't have pressure, we can go out and pressure them. And because of the nature of this forever spawn, they could have minimal amount of people. You could actually see we overwhelm them and hold basically always until they have a timing push. And what I think was happening is they would have people from Bravo, from their defense, against our Bravo and Charlie, coming up and then timing their pushes with the people spawning there and then pushing as one group, which added a lot of pressure. And we've already talked about how the star, if Bravo and Charlie can help, auto on it to relieve, to help kill them on those pushes, that would help a lot. One question I have, and I'm curious why we have the elephant on defense. I feel like it's a huge wasted opportunity for us to put pressure on them, assuming we can protect the elephant to their base, because it's a useful tool to take down their gates and to call their people back, especially if we have Bravo Charlie defending our elephant, or if we introduce Delta, like I suggested in the video. So I'm going to stop the commentary here, because here you can see one of their big timing pushes, and introduce at least an idea that I have that hopefully can help. Well, first I apologize for the jankiness of this. This is the best method I thought of doing it. I want to talk about defense of Alpha at the choke point 4. So assuming they're gone and they're still alive, 4 would be here, vice versa. If they were gone and they were still alive, 4 would be here. So the direction doesn't actually matter. But let's talk about the specific fight last time. So they're gone, they're still alive, and 4 is here. Now the enemy spawn is somewhere around right here. And what was happening is ENKI had people at their chokes, right? I'm just throwing where I think the chokes are, or at the side of the towers. They had all these people blockading Bravo and Charlie to get to their HA. And it made sense because essentially they had, I'm going to delete all this. Here at this spawn point, at this X, they had about 10 people going. And if you're watching the video, I should pause it around the time where you see their rushes. They would have a timing rushes where they were pushing in with 10 to 15 people. And it was either with a cannon, maybe an elephant and ogre. Let's just throw an assumption out there. And so essentially we have so many people tied up here that we're not applying pressure. They're infinitely spawning here with invincibility, and they're tying about all of alpha. So my idea would be they spawn here, we reintroduce delta. Delta would be a subset of alpha. So you have alpha, main D, and then you have delta, which is also main D. But delta, instead of being here with the main group on the bridge, which is basically just absorbing, would push out to this area. So they would either work on a circle to suppress the spawn if we're feeling good, but if Bravo and Charlie need help, we say Delta, do your thing, and then Delta comes out and is either here or here. Now, this has to be very fluid, and one of the ideas I had in terms of, like, let's say the 2.0 version of our siege defense would be, one, focus on fluidity, which basically means you're doing the most important thing you can at all times, and we could ensure that, keep it simple by giving people a priority. So if you're in main D alpha, then your priority is to make sure nobody gets to the HA. If you're Bravo and Charlie and you call, like, I think Lev was saying Jabberwockies, then your main priority would be cannons. If you're Bravo, Charlie in skirmish mode, hunting, you know what I mean? Whatever it is. And so Delta's priority here, when they're in these areas, would be skirmish. To attack pretty much everybody in this area, keep it as clear as possible for Bravo and Charlie. Now this isn't a permanent thing, because Alpha can easily be overwhelmed. And so essentially the main body of Alpha would have to be grabbers, any kind of paladins, gladiators we have, any kinds of strikers, I'd say destroyers, hunters, huntresses, and they would have to be able to be smart enough to call back, hey, we need people to defend the HA when they get overwhelmed. Another priority we can introduce for everybody is that if you see anybody at RHA, kill them and then move on. But don't chase anybody back to the HA. So you see what I mean? Is if we have priorities, then what that does is it makes the individuals more responsible, more aware, and we're not just putting people in a box and saying, stay here and do this, because there was a lot of opportunities that we had, and it was the same as we were pointing out, is like why the star position doesn't necessarily work, because you have our, quote unquote, strongest people here, and this is getting attacked. So one is fluidity, and then two would be pressure. Apply more pressure on defense. So let me just erase all this. I'm sorry this is taking long. This is just kind of out loud thoughts and things like that. So let's go back to the idea of, we have Alpha here on 4, their spawn is here and they're coming. Bravo and Charlie are trying to get here. So the way we could help is we say, if Bravo and Charlie needs help, we say, okay, Delta, which I would say would be more mobile classes like Darkness, Mages, but don't put all the Mages in Delta. Keep Mages here too for the main stack to help CC with their ice. Essentially very mobile classes. They come out and their priority would be relieve pressure from Bravo and Delta, for example. And these priorities, they're not set in stone. I say you officers come up with them. So essentially they're here, and Delta starts assisting in these areas, never going past, because we want them to be able to respond very quickly if the main stack gets overwhelmed. And they're not too far away. Essentially, if you play smart and you keep a couple dashes, the distance between here and here is very short. I think in the video I push out to like right here and I come back. Another priority could be is use only SA abilities when you're skirmishing. Don't be tempted, and you see in the video too, where I'm tempted to use my pneumatic burst. I get CC'd almost immediately. There's too much going on. You can't account for people coming at you from behind. So always focus on SA abilities. I would say in general anyway for Siege. So now we have Delta, which could be, I'd say 10 people, even 5 people skirmishing in these areas. helping helping Bravo and Charlie. And then if Bravo and Charlie needs more help, this is where the fluidity comes in. We say, Delta, you're attached to Bravo and Charlie for this push. And so the shot callers need to be very clear about if they come back and say they get wiped here and we respawn, Delta, fold back into Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, keep doing your thing. Go back into skirmish mode. And this is why I call it the 2.0, because now our battle plan is very simple. Everybody has their priorities. Everybody knows their priorities based on whatever role you have. And it's much more fluid here. And it's much more fluid here. And it's much more fluid here. So now we have way more flexibility, more power, and we can apply more pressure. Because if we just sit, I'm going to delete again. If we just sit at 4, we're done. And we saw that. The only time we could sit at 4 is like in a match versus somebody like Legend, where we are so much stronger than them, where it doesn't matter. But even then, this is losing proposition. Because they could, as long as they are able to chip away, it's just a matter of time before they win. So we need to be able to apply more pressure here, here, so that Bravo and Charlie can get there. So this is my idea. That's it. Hey, I'm going to keep the commentary sporadic now. Just kind of let you guys enjoy the video. But there's a moment here where I come around the right side, like I had done in my last video. But I feel like we can see the potential benefit of a Delta. Like say I had come out with like even 4 more people. And what we could have done in this area. Even if we don't necessarily kill the cannon, even if we don't necessarily even kill everybody here, those 5 people are like a force multiplier. We've applied much more pressure here, and it requires them to have more people come back. Even if we take out 1 or 2 of them, and that makes Bravo and Charlie's job much easier. Because essentially Bravo and Charlie are carrying the weight of all the amount of pressure that we put on them, and that's I think it's unrealistic to expect Bravo and Charlie, even assuming like they were full of guys in the 9k plus range, to do all that legwork. I feel like our strength as a guild and as a team, and this is something Daddy always says, is that we win as a team and we lose as a team. Which is why I feel like tying together the battle groups in a much more fluid and simple way. I love the idea of KISS, keep it simple, stupid. Giving people priorities based on their roles. Being much more responsive and fast with our calls and the way we move would help us put so much more pressure that we could carry us over the CP caps that we're going to have versus guilds like ENKI and Ancient and Obsidian and whatever servers we merge with their guilds too. That's I think really it. And yeah.